Welcome to this week's show of TAC Tic Talk. I'm Dr. Joe Bush, editor of the American Chiropractor, hosting along with publisher Jaclyn of the American Chiropractor magazine. This week, joined by our magnificent brother, James Robert J.R. Bush, advertising and digital director for the American Chiropractor. We're here as a family project to celebrate the 50th episode of TAC Tic Talk.
Family, and
welcome to the show.
Let's make it clear. It's not just family. It's actually business. It's our passion is chiropractic. So wanted to make sure that's clear.
We got to explain how JR is working with us because he's got so many other projects that he's doing that, we're just, we're family. We're family. He wanted to donate his time to help us out with the magazine, so it's like, we appreciate that, JR.
Well, no, it's my pleasure, Joe. I mean, not many of us can actually say that they were on the cover of the magazine in 1981. I go back to the foundation of really the magazine itself.
Of course, not many people can say that they were a baby when they were first on the cover either. Only you.
Well, 1981, JR, you're kind of outing yourself about your age. Some would say, does being on the cover at such a young age you prematurely? How old are you? I mean, this is...
the fun thing is, Joe, is people that have known me ever since I actually started working for the magazine back at 99 have said that I actually look pretty much the same as when I started. So
that's what I'm...
I think that has something to do with chiropractic. Chiropractic stopped my aging process, and I just kind of stood right there.
Well, the American Chiropractor certainly has stopped your aging process. Clearly, by doing good works, the universe has rewarded you. Jaclyn, what do you think? JR, I mean, having him on our 50th episode here, pretty special,
I think,
right?
Dr. Joe, it was a great idea. And actually, I can't even believe it that we're getting prepared for our 50th episode of TAC Tic Talk. Who would have thought all this time has gone by so quickly? 50 episodes. That's just amazing. And we've never actually gotten to tell our story, any of us. And I'm sure that everybody appreciates to get to know a little bit behind the people who are asking the questions, right? So I think that was a
now,
great...
Now, this being such a special episode, we're going to try to splice in other prominent figures that have worked with us throughout, such as Tracy Pate and Rick Bush.
Those, of course.
JR's brother. It's a family affair, right? We're all passion driven, right?
Dr. Joe, I don't think many people are even aware that there's out of the magazine, which was founded by our father, Dr. Richard Bush, Jr., and of course our mother, Jean Ireland Bush, who now both, may they rest in peace, we get the honor of being the second generation to carry on their vision. And so it's not just a 50th episode of TAC's Tic Talk, but it's also getting close to almost our we're in the 48th year of publication of the American Chiropractor, of which, gosh, I think I've got almost 30 years under my belt.
Well, Jaclyn, that's a great point. So talking about that a little bit, how did you first become involved with the magazine?
Well, Dr. Joe, everybody, and this is the neat thing because the American Chiropractor currently mails to 40,000 chiropractors, the majority of which are small family-owned businesses. And so, of course, the American Chiropractor started very similarly. Our father was a practicing chiropractor who then acquired the magazine as another endeavor to help expand his vision for connecting chiropractors and continue education outside of chiropractic. Health and healing is his passion. I myself, of course, as you know, growing up in a family of 6 siblings, our parents were rock stars. And so if you knew them, and anybody who does know them, it was a natural fit that I would go into the family business because you pretty much knew that no matter what you did, you're going to succeed. And there was nothing greater than the reward of getting to work alongside, your parents who you admire. And then, of course, our siblings. Right now, we currently have 5 out of 6 siblings all involved in chiropractic. 4 of us involved in the magazine on a more ongoing basis. And then Dr. Joe, you, JR, and myself are pretty much, the hands on component of the magazine. And, but everybody has seen us at the trade shows. For me, out of college in Indiana University, way back in probably 1996 or so, if I'm dating myself. After that, I just decided if I was going to learn to promote anything, I wanted to make sure it was something that was really, I could rest well at night. And chiropractic is one of the most, I would say, altruistic kind of things, because it's helps so many people in so many different ways, and they've had their own share of battles. And here we are now, 30 years in myself personally, the magazine 48 years. Dr. Joe, I was going to say, I got to point that back to you. How long does that put you here in the magazine?
Well, I mean, my time was absolutely shaped. It goes back to when I was in college. I mean, I'd be going to the Naples shows, right? I mean, all of us, we throughout our lives started very young. I mean, I remember stuffing envelopes for my summer vacation or spring vacation when I was in, I probably less than 6th grade, trying to fold little letters and put them into the letters and staple them. Like, I was like, so you're telling me I have to lick 10,000 stamps in order to be able to make these? This sounds like a little, I think that glue is going to, I don't know. There wasn't Robert Kennedy talking about toxic effects of glue, but I think that's going to give me some. Fortunately, we got J.R. to lick them all. But
no, there was a Seinfeld episode about that.
Anyways, no. But give me a second. All right, hang on. I need to put a break in right now. Remember, I told you I had to take a break at 10 minutes. Is there any way to put a break on this, Kayla?
I would think, and
got to give us some kind of. So, I'm being completely facetious, joking here. JR was not actually licking the stamps, for anyone out there who's like, that's child abuse. There may have been some child abuse or even brother abuse involved in those, envelope stuffing sessions, but definitely we didn't cause any long-term harm, So, but JR, now what has brought you into the magazine? Like, what is it that really stimulated your interest in continuing on with the magazine, and how did your background really contribute to your involvement even to this day?
Well, I mean, as you know, chiropractic has always been something in our lives. I mean, just lo and behold, as you recall, I did, because of the magazine. Actually, Dad knew how to revive me from a technique that somebody taught him. Sent in an article about through the magazine when I drowned when I was like about 4 years old.
Jesus Christ, JR, you're going straight to the drowning story, but you didn't even tell people about this. Like, people don't know anything about that, JR.
I know. I don't share it that often.
Of Jesus
but so that is obviously one of the affinities. Obviously, I have to chiropractic, because I know that, and I attribute much of the magazine. It's and I always say is the magazine, we're always trying to continue the education of chiropractors outside of the classrooms and stuff of technology, techniques and modalities that they might not know exist that could help some patient of theirs and their conditions. Because at the end of the day, chiropractic is always about helping the patients get better results, helping the public get better results in a natural way. So
I couldn't have said it better myself, JR. Now, just so the audience knows, JR actually did experience a period where he had virtually drowned. No, we don't really know how long he was out.
I was in the pool that day, Joe.
Right. Jaclyn was in the pool that day.
It was a terrifying story.
I think I was fishing, but I mean, and JR, you had come up and my dad did CPR and a couple of techniques to stimulate the return of your nervous system. So it was a
miraculous thing. And it goes to show, Joe,
that's a moment in your life and ours as a family, truthfully.
Well, and that's a technique they're not going to be teaching at a lot of schools. So
no, they're definitely not going to be teaching it. And honestly, you'll have to meet JR live in order to really get full details on the technique, because it's something that you can't say. It's like, you got to show us. Anyways,
there's the point being is there's a huge affinity when you know that your life is owed to a very unknown technique. That is definitely something that makes you want to give back as well too. So, and to be frank, to see our father come out and rescue the way he did that day was, chiropractors really, if they knew all that they have, I think, they're pretty amazing. It was a really very amazing story to tell, and to see even in practice and in business. It's been really a great ride.
Certainly. No, Jared, and that's a great point that you make. And I didn't even think of that as being potentially something that influenced you, but that's a great point. So, Jaclyn, how has this altruistic desire of yours, how has that influenced even the direction of the magazine up to this point? How would you say that has led
Well,
you to work with certain,
Dr.
different
Joe,
vendors or providers?
that's a great question. There's a couple different things. Like there's a phrase often that says, the more you've been, it's biblical. The more you've been given, the more you will be asked to give. And we've been so blessed growing up that I would always ask, wow, you hear about people, and in our family, it was a joke to say, well, at least you've got your health. For us, that was like the low bar. To have your health wasn't assumed when you grew up in a chiropractic family. Health isn't something that's a given, but it's always made me realize more and more over the years, as you ask and you start to be revealed, the amount of pain and suffering that people have just to exist is ridiculous, when you know that if they had access to good chiropractic care, then they would have such, a higher jumping point, starting point in life. So, for us, when you start off with health, you go straight to kind of self actualization. So to me, that's been the whole point, is if we can have that greatest gift. And over the years, I've had doctors that even write into saying, how much they admired seeing the family and the parents and the siblings growing up and working together, that this is the way that it's always supposed to have been. And the breakdown of the family is something that's definitely a big concern. So when you get to work together and you get to know each other, you get to really live healthy on a multitude of different levels, and of course many challenges, I always joke. But as far as how that translates to other things, I mean, we have the opportunity where we get to go to the events, all the major chiropractic events every year, over 30 years. So we're pretty much now in a position where you feel like you're a talent scout, just like in the professional sporting events where they're going and looking for the new upcomer. So we're always featuring this latest and greatest in health and healing, in techniques, both for the patients, techniques for the practice, for the doctors, because there's definitely a lot of ways that you can work to get a patient better, but there's also a matter of time and effort. And we're pretty much aware that there might be things that we could do, but we just aren't going to do it. Your patients aren't going to do it. So,
So how do you ensure the magazine remains a trusted resource for new established chiropractors, and those, Jaclyn, how do you really work to make sure that continues to be something that's not personally driven, but
well, Dr. Joe,
utilizing your talent?
actually, it's a good question, because over the years, I know, we've had to really put our opinions in the background. When you're younger, starting off, gosh, I can't even tell you all the battles we've gone through trying to say, this is what we should be doing, this is what we shouldn't be doing. And the reality is we're always presenting information about the latest and greatest, who's on the mic, who's at the speaker podium at all these latest events that are happening in chiropractic. At the same time, chiropractic was built on a foundation of information that may or may not be changing a lot. So we want to make sure that the younger generation have access to the, witnessing and these greats out there in chiropractic, upon which this chiropractic profession was founded, at the same time that they get to be exposed to the latest doctors out there who are now advancing and making things easier. For example, at the latest trade shows, I know we recently did a big feature with Mo Pisiotano, who like everybody, there's always going to be people who love and hate whoever we're featuring. But at the same time, there's an embracement of technology incorporating, which patients oftentimes gravitate to, because chiropractic has this hands-on healing kind of thing, where the more that we can land it and get it so that patients can see the results on a computer screen, or see this functional medicine topic as well. But we're just taking whatever has been the foundation of chiropractic and embracing and trying to feature and letting the doctors pick for themselves, because each of our readers, there's 40,000 we're mailing to every month. There's over, up to 70,000 licensed chiropractors. We're not going to spoon feed anybody, and we're not going to tell you any one person is right for everybody. But we will do is we're very committed to making sure that we're featuring all of those latest and the greatest doctors out there. And if we haven't, then let us know, because we definitely want to make sure there's a story. Believe me, with 40,000 chiropractors, there's probably about 40,000 different techniques we could feature, but we're working on making sure we're featuring the most successful ones, the ones that are getting the best patient results and that are the easiest to use.
Great. And so, JR, obviously you're influencing a lot of the editorial guidance as well, and the experience that readers will have. What kinds of interactions do you have with the vendors? Because you're working a lot with the vendors, right? And so in chiropractic, a lot of the vendors have been experts within the profession for a long time. Can you talk on those points a little bit?
Yes, definitely. And actually, it's a lot of fun, because being out there at all these trade shows that I go to and meeting a lot of these new vendors that are actually, a lot of them, believe it or not, the vendors in chiropractic are chiropractors themselves that have either created some technique or some technology or something that is helping their patients get better, and they're seeing amazing results with, and they're trying to educate all of the rest of the population about, just what I was just saying about with my personal experience. It's, trying to convey and using the magazine as a vehicle to educate chiropractors about different techniques, technologies, and things like that, where they can help maybe get some of these more amazing results that generally you're not going to find it, in the university classrooms, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. So what are your visions for the next 5 to 10 years, particularly in how the magazine is going to continue to foster community, advance the profession? Do you have any thoughts on that, JR?
I mean, you know how I always think. First off, our magazine is always going to be printing and mailing to 40,000 chiropractors. Our podcast, obviously, we're going to try to help bridge that gap, because, hey, first off, there's two things that everybody knows. In the United States, people tend to spend around 40 minutes a day transiting to and from work. So these podcasts will hopefully give you them a vehicle in order to dive deeper into what we put in the printed pages. Obviously we're always going to be in contact in social media, but I think chiropractic right now is a perfect position to be catapulted into a much larger role in the national healthcare system. Thankfully, unfortunately, to COVID and everything like that, I think everybody is starting to realize chiropractic plays an integral role in a person's overall wellness. And so, it's now just up to us as a medium and vehicle to educate chiropractors, but also the chiropractors themselves to understand and comprehend the value that they're putting for their patients.
Perfect. No, I totally agree. Jaclyn, what about you? What are your goals for the next 5 to 10 years in fostering community, advancing the chiropractic profession? Do you have any specific point that you want to touch on?
Well, Dr. Joe, I can't really reveal all of my goals, but what I can tell you.
Show the cards, Jaclyn. Show the cards.
But what I can tell you is one of the great things has been for us is that we keep getting out there. We've got TAC correspondents everywhere at all the trade shows and all the chiropractic colleges. Our goal is always to be connecting chiropractors and connecting these educational institutions and making it easier for doctors to stay connected, especially after they get out of practice, and helping them keep up to date. Now, how that transfers into the printed pages, because it helps to the one guaranteed method of distribution still is the U.S. Post Office, which is ironic because, of course, nobody wants to be a fan of the government, but the U.S. Post Office is the one method that guarantees distribution, whereas the digital methods on the websites, social media, even certain things where they kind of limit your scope and your reach, and emails, they're constantly changing the algorithms. We've got the digital
platform. It's getting scary, Jaclyn.
So we're making sure.
Like the phantom clicks, you have bots crawling your site. People don't even go to your website anymore. Yeah. I read some articles the other day about the death of the website. And with AI trying to just take over everything, it's a dangerous thing.
Dr. Joe, and I would say too we love the audio platforms like the TAC and the TAC's Tic Talk. It's great. And if you're subscribed on it, you will get it and it will auto-populate. So that's definitely something we encourage everybody to promote and hear. At the same time, chiropractors are hands-on healers. And we're so inundated with technology that there's nothing more refreshing than being able to flip through pages of a physical magazine. And so that's an area that we're always committed to keeping out there, is the physical print publication. But at this very same time, everything we do in print has the highest speed digital publication that you can read on your phone or flip through. But I do know that our studies have shown most of our readers do prefer the print, and they're utilizing the digital as a reference tool. So it kind of just reminds them to look in their mailbox. You still, till we get the Jetsons where the Amazon.
Yeah, but we're still expanding our footprint into the digital market in other ways. And I mean, readers and listeners will see that as we come forth in time. But it's an important point, because everyone, that is accessing information through the digital tries to convince everyone else how, there's no value in print. But then what we're seeing is this completely other narrative, because people do reach out to us for print-based material primarily. I mean, that's our, so
definitely.
And then you'll hear Elon Musk talking about how you got to burn the United States Postal Service. Like, hey,
Dr. Joe,
clearly he's not in on the deal. But
one of the things I think we all got to see, JR, did you want to say something really quick?
Yeah, well, no, I just want to interject, Joe. I mean, everybody, you mentioned it earlier, is going towards the Chat GPT and everything like that, or whatever, AI, thinking that's going to be the place to find all the information. The problem is all that information is basically just grabbed from the web. So it's basically, it could be anybody putting out any bogus information, and Chat GPT or AI will think it's the real stuff, and then it'll pass it off as being the real stuff. And then next thing you know, it's not even the real stuff. It's somebody else's message that is deployed and driven into you. So,
and to be fair, for Dr. Joe and JR, our stance on everything is we're not anti-AI. We love it just like everybody else for what it's good for. The main thing is we've lived now decades literally, with the unrolling of the computers where we're all like, they're the best. And then what they do is they get you all numb, and then they change and flip the script. So they give you the very easy version. Everything looks great. And
it's
that's
a Trojan horse is what you're trying to say.
It's dumbing down society. And then afterwards they're going to flip the script. And so that's a good way for all this fake news, which is what I was going into. So JR, that dovetailed perfectly, because what we did witness during 2020 was how dangerous this entertainment media is. I mean, what is it? There's like infotainment. So this is ridiculous. Like when you would see just really entertaining, great videos. And I mean, all of us in lockdown, I mean, of course we were watching it, because you're like, what else am I going to do? But at the same time, you start to realize, where's the references? Who's putting this together? I mean, even these videos that were being propagated and promoted, half of it, you're like, this could be completely just a made up story as a fear mongering technique. And so this is now what we're working to hard. And that's really the future for us in chiropractic, Dr. Joe, is always connecting the doctors who are walking the talk, literally practicing physicians, because there's always, like you talk about the Trojan horse, people are on this, who are up with the mic in hand, promoting their latest technique or miracle thing. But at the end of the day, if they're not a practicing doctor with, in my opinion, decades of experience personally, I really would question it a lot. So I want to make sure that that's the thing.
Nothing replaces experience, and that's one of the things, like with chiropractic, the big knock on chiropractic is that it lacks randomized controlled trials. And then the truth is, they, in my opinion, they just want randomized controlled trials to replace you. They don't, if you, the second that they have proof that they don't need you, they will get rid of you. And so they want you to pay for the studies. And it's just like the functional medicine. You mentioned a little bit about that, Jaclyn. And even some of these historical chiropractic techniques that originally were marketed as different types of things that were even proved through different techniques. And now you see functional medicine changing the narrative on those techniques, making it their own, and then acting as though they created it. I mean, it's completely astonishing to have that 40-year view, that we all have, and how that's changed from when they were attacking chiropractors in the 80s to when they were like, you guys don't, we're taking away your insurance benefits. And to now when they're like, okay, well, we're going to do it. And we're going to charge 3 times what you do. and it now works. It's like, so it's just like a war, and it's a health war. And it's surprising that we have Kennedy in there right now is trying to carry forth a lot of these narratives that really, a lot of them emanated even from chiropractic historical standpoint. You see him echoing those conversations. The question is if they'll implement it, because everyone knows Kennedy is completely cut from the same cloth as the historical monster.
Well, Dr.
Which
Joe,
no one has really talked about. We want to talk about how great he is because we want him to do what we want to do. But the implementation phase, right? I mean, it's not always how the politician envisions it, because they're surrounded by this.
And let me interrupt on that one too, because what I wanted to make sure of is because the American Chiropractor, we have, like you'd mentioned, but some of our sponsors are contributing authors, some advertisers as well. We'll have a political affiliation or a photo with a latest president or something. And you mentioned, now Robert Kennedy, but at the same time, the American Chiropractor has absolutely no political affiliations one way or another. Yeah. Simply,
we're for chiropractors. That's
we're reporting whatever is coming our way. If it's worthy, if there's somebody who is a president of the United States, we're going to include the story every now and then. We're not going to say we're pro or against it. That's for the readers to say. But if it's somebody who's that much of a big influencer, then you should know about it. And you should have a little bit more emotional balance to say, it's not our agenda. This is for you to be aware and decide. If you are opposed it, then take action. If you're for it, take action. But
write a letter, send us an editor's letter. If you're like, I can't believe that you said Trump was doing good things for chiropractors. Even if he just does one good thing, I'm like, if he was nice to one chiropractor, we could, we have to report on that.
Well, Dr. Joe, don't say
like he's total jerk, or Barack Obama. We had a lot of back and forth during Barack Obama's. We unfortunately didn't have any commentary on Biden because Biden didn't really talk to anyone.
Hey, be careful, because I might have to edit out this whole segment because I'm going to quote you.
That's the truth.
I'm going to quote you.
I'll call me on Biden saying anything either here nor there.
When you you mentioned me as an altruistic person, I'll say this much. And our dad's great quote, like the Lord, I love them all. But the point being is at the end of the day, I actually love one of your great quotes, Dr. Joe. You would say to me, at the American Chiropractor, we're not anti anything. Quite frankly, we're not even anti-aging. We're pro healthy aging. We're pro, and we're always about with every politician out there. We're no idiots. We know that they've got to ride both sides of this, the wave for them to stay in their position of power and authority. And I'm sure, and I'd like to think that everybody is in some way, shape, or form trying to do what they think is really the best for their constituents. So that's
I don't think that, Jaclyn, and we do differ there, but I don't allow that to influence the editorial. I don't necessarily think that everyone is altruistic.
That we have. Exactly. That's the great balance.
There's a differentiation there, but I'm not speaking negatively on Biden. I just don't know. I'm not aware of anything that has been influential within the chiropractic realm. I think during his tenure as president, I'm not sure if the VA expanded. I had seen a lot of instances where they were talking about even overhauling the medical system. And so as you see now, Trump's trying to do certain things, and you can expect, I think once Trump leaves, more than likely they'll try to revert or push forward those changes if they're able to gain that support. But one thing I have heard recently is about this tremendous crisis, the economic crisis within the United States and across the United States for the debt load that the United States government is carrying. And it's affecting chiropractors. And I've talked to people recently, like presidents of colleges, on how this is influencing the situation that students entering school right now will experience. And even they were trying to put caps on the chiropractic loan amount that one can request that were below what a 10 trimester course load would be. So it has really huge implications. And maybe this isn't the moment to talk about it on the 50th podcast. Maybe we have to do another one. But it's absolutely staggering what that will have and how that'll affect these different schools, not only chiropractic schools, but the public school system. I mean, it is just, and for loan holders and how that influences your family and the growth of your, into maturity. It's absolutely
Well,
staggering. So
and actually,
like
to
the
quote
debt,
one
the
of
debt is the big issue.
well, one of our authors, Dr. David Seaman, in one of his books and maybe one of his articles, I'm sure I've read over the years, I remember he pointed out, and this is why personally, as far as politics go, I really try not to stay away from taking a stance pro or con on any of them, because he would say, even if you're a chiropractor who might identify with a Republican stance, he had pointed out about how much the debt increased over certain politicians. And even he was saying, even in Reagan, one of the most revered Republican presidents, actually the national debt increased substantially, even more than Bill Clinton, I believe. So when you look at those kinds of numbers, and this is where now I think the conversation has changed. Are we gauging the health of a company based on its national debt? Or I like it when I've heard recently more things when they talk about the wellness factor of the nation as a better standpoint. You know what I mean? I think that those would be different conversations to have, but they're definitely not for the American Chiropractors 50th podcast. But
I hear you. On
Dr.
that note,
Joe,
so
that's
Jaclyn balanced it out. I mean, they're all bad. That's basically what she's saying. It's not
well,
just.
I didn't want to say, but
All
I'm
right,
going
all
to
right.
pray for them all, Joe. You don't pray against the pilot of the plane, so you're going to keep that in think. Now, I wanted to say something we haven't even gone through, because Dr. Joe, you've been the host most of it. You've not given us your story. How'd you gravitate into chiropractic?
Well,
Obviously, other than the
Jaclyn, that's a
obvious.
great story, and I'll have to give you that along a different podcast because we're about to wrap up. I'm just
No, but Dr. Joe,
But
you're
no,
the chiropractor. There's two of them in the family. We're gonna have Dr.
Yeah.
Rick Bush, another chiropractor in the family, but Dr. Joe, you're the editor. Give us a quick nutshell of your background.
Well, like any child, I was, who knows what you want to do when you grow up? I'm still trying to figure it out, right? So, it's who knows. You do want to provide a valuable. You want to be a productive, valuable member of society, and I always wanted to, definitely contribute to my community in any way I could. And my background was more science oriented, and when I was a kid, I wrestled and things like that. My dad was a chiropractor, so I was used to using my hands. And when I was wrestling or even grappling or taekwondo, jiu-jitsu, I would, I'd be paying attention to how the opponent responded to forces and different things. I'm like, at the end of the day, I was talking even about some of the stuff I was doing. They're like, you're adjusting your opponent. Of course, I was doing it from maybe a negative standpoint, but and that kind of stuck with me. So I trained trying to develop the faster response fibers. So for like the adjustment, you want a very fast adjustment. I thought of that, but as I went into college, I studied chemistry, and I had a desire to do something with that, and to help people through that. It was more towards the engineering side, and it just didn't work out. I didn't get straight A's in college, and pretty early I recognized I was not going to be a medical doctor, because there was a slight interest in that, but I didn't want to cut people. I didn't want to do surgery. I actually did give a serious consideration to maybe like drugs and pharmaceutical manufacturing, because I went to Indiana University, which is one of the giant fabrica, they call it in Spanish, but they produce a lot of chemists for Eli Lilly. So, there's that environment, and so they're teaching that drug design and things like that in the chemistry program. And so, but then I was like, I don't want to live in a chemistry, setting. I want to have a real existence. And, Jaclyn, during that time, we were going to the FCA seminars. I would go there, the Naples seminar, right before finals week too. So that wasn't really actually great, but, I'd be exposed to that type of stuff. And I remembered I had fond memories of my upbringing, and everyone you talk to, seems to have a very rich family life as a chiropractor. And so I was like, all right, well, do I really want to take this on? But then I ultimately did. I felt like that was my calling. And so that's the direction I went. And it's been very emotionally rewarding. I mean, it's been very financially, I've been able to raise my family the way I wanted to. And so I'm grateful for everything that the chiropractic profession has been able to help me to achieve and appreciate. And with the magazine, you can't ignore that there was an influence there. I did want to be a writer for a period of time, and I I still do, but it's like, we get so inundated with all this stuff that it's like you can't do everything you want to do,
Well,
So I spend half
Joe,
the time to this day treating patients, and I do the magazine as well with the editorial and some of the production. So
see, so you get the writing in there already. And I'm glad to hear that story, because quite frankly, many people might think, coming up from the American chiropractor and the chiropractic background, that you'd already be locked and loaded in it, but you had a very open mind. I mean, to even be considering, chiropractic, like, oh my gosh, and chemistry and the pharmaceutical end. But it goes to show that we really weren't inundated with an anti anything. We were always brought up with a very pro health, pro involvement, and just keeping your eyes open and, evaluating always the opportunities that lay before you. So I think that's
well,
great.
I think that the real problem is sometimes chiropractors don't realize that the chiropractic side of it is not the only side, So I want to be preventative of that, because I see like an over correction with that. Everyone wants to say, well, all right, so the medical program, it kills a certain amount of people from, improper medication, surgeries that are not necessary. But there are also there are instances and absolutely necessary medication, surgery. So, I mean, you can't just say everything's bad. You know what I mean? So, I mean, if you don't explore it for yourself, you definitely can't have an opinion on it. And there are a lot of great things about the medical effect on a patient, but there are definitely, they step over what is considered good. And just like a chiropractor can step over what is considered, effective care. So
well,
you need to have ethics in what you do,
And so Dr. Joe, if JR is going to share his chiropractic pool drowning story and the chiropractic saving it, I have to share that I do have a medical testimony, which shows the kind of the balance. And that is, even growing up with chiropractic, my firstborn had a heart condition. She had to have heart surgery at 6 weeks of age. And I tell you, I had the conversation with our father, who was a chiropractor. And I didn't really have the luxury of saying, I'm just going to wait and take her to a chiropractor. She had to have open heart surgery at 6 weeks of age. It was successful. Then she had to have another one at 9 years of age, and another one at 15. And by the grace of God, I've always told people, like, I'm not ashamed to admit, through that journey after surgery 2 to 3, suddenly you're like, all this positive thinking and natural living, it's not enough. I started going to church. I'm a total, so I give props to everybody along the way, all the chiropractors who came in my path and gave me advice, all the medical doctors who were trained to help to perform those operations, and of course, all the people in the religious community. The Catholic Church was the one for us, but I'm sure if you look for the answer, when in the right frame of mind, you're going to find it wherever you go, God willing. We just want to get them to go to a chiropractor first. And then if chiropractic can't help them, then to make sure that they'll know how to effectively evaluate what other options they have out there.
And that's what a lot of the studies are showing, is that if you choose chiropractic first for a lot of these pain kind of syndromes. Now, I'm not saying that chiropractic is only productive for pain, but the use of the medications is much less than it would be if you go to a primary care physician. We understand the risks associated with medications, as well as other types of illnesses that can be. That's how the chiropractor today is taught, is about primary care physician, do the triage, make sure that and then recommend the proper care plan. So that's that's something that, just so everyone's clear, I didn't want to be a pharmacist or make medications.
We're evaluating.
Truthfully, I actually wanted to make like the strongest metal possible. But I went to a school, Indiana University, which honestly their strength was more in medications versus the Purdue, right? Our rivals. I should have gone to Purdue, honestly, but I was a child.
But you could. Whatever. We were all Hoosiers growing up. We were all in.
So they're much better in the chemical engineering. So I ended up, but that's very useful stuff, and it's formed a lot of my worldview because of just the way that molecules interact. Without a catalyst, things don't happen. I consider the magazine the catalyst for things to happen. Like you were mentioning, Jaclyn, like going out and hunting talent. and you're looking at people who are on the stage. And honestly, most of them appear in the magazine before they get on stage, and then everyone wants them. So it's like the people who are making those decisions are paying attention. And no, I'm just honored. It's a privilege to work with the magazine. I'm happy to continue to do so.
Well, and
JR, sorry, Jaclyn, did you have one more
I was just going to say really quick closing up, because I know you still got a full head of hair and everything, but you've actually, because for those who are just listening in, our youngest brother is actually JR, and he's grown up a little bit faster than the rest of us. He's grown up he's gotten my mom's side of the genes, or I don't know, dad's. But
it was not the glue from the stamps, I'll tell you that. But we used a sponge.
You've really got actually how many at least almost 2 decades now under your belt, maybe a decade and a half.
Yeah, we're getting up there. I mean, I think it's about like 10
I'm going
million magazines or something.
I'm going about 3 decades. I know I'm going about 3 decades. I can't even believe it but we've been putting into practice everything that we get access to and the tools in chiropractic. And so I wanted to say, that's really cool to hear your thought process about 20 years ago.
And as a family business, we all had times when we were like more involved and less involved. So, and that's what we're going to hear from Rick too. I mean, we always reach out to Rick and Tracy, of course. But JR, I'm not sure. What's your why? Did you give us your why? Is it the
why? I always envisioned when I was growing up is working with the family. So I'm working with dad and, and the family and everybody. So, and that's, where the stars guided me at the end of the day. And, and really, I mean, I really genuinely do love chiropractic. I mean, unfortunately, I am not a healer. These hands aren't made for healing. They're
maybe in a different way, JR. You can still be a healer without
but at the same time, marketing and everything like that, and helping getting the word of chiropractic out and educating the chiropractors, a testament to that.
Yeah.
Jaclyn, did you want to share your why? It sounds like, I don't know if we've covered it.
My why, I was thinking about JR's why, because I know family's a very big one.
Jaclyn, you can't answer JR's why.
I'm saying that's an accurate answer.
All right, good.
And for me too, I would say my why, Dr. J, I mean, for me, I want, and Dad always had this great quote, and may he rest in peace. But he would always say, what I want for myself, I want for everyone. And obviously, I was kind of pointing out about our age, because it feels like with the amount of years we've got under our belt doing the same in this day and age, it's so unpopular to be in the same business and to be in the family business. Like a lot of times they'll put down the family business, but quite frankly, it's so rewarding and enriching. And to me, that's the whole thing is as you age, I thank God that we've got chiropractic and all of these years under our belt of knowledge that we're putting into practice, that we're our own guinea pigs to see how it's working out for us. But then I always want to make sure that we're passing that on, especially to new generation, especially after living through 2020 and all the other stuff they got planned for us ahead.
Right.
To me, that is the why, is that we don't know what we don't know. And I thank God that what we don't know, we've got chiropractors who it's still around 20 to 40 years my senior. And I love the fact that I can pick up the phone and call some of these doctors who are still living legends and who will give us the straight talk. And to me, that is part of the why we do it, is because somebody has to do it. And all this fake news where they're just going to somebody who's a paid person to be talking on screen. I thank God that we get access to chiropractors and doctors who've got clinical experience of not just decades, but we're talking like 50 years under their belt of practice. That is something that I talk about. That's real clinical experience. And that stuff, to me, why I keep doing it, because we're always going to need that.
Yeah, very good. Well, I'll share my why. I mean, it's much of the same things that JR mentioned. It's, for me, you go through chiropractic school. For those chiropractors out there listening right now, it can be absolutely, like, what in the heck am I doing? I just spent 7-8 years educating myself to start out basically at the bottom, and so it's like very stressful, but everything that I reviewed when I was going through it, because it's not like I was born with a golden spoon in my mouth. I mean, I know with the magazine, a lot of people may think that it was like easy street, but it was not. Just like everyone, I had to take out student loans and I had to struggle through some of those biochemistry classes. Actually, biochemistry I loved, but really microbiology classes, I wish you could say. But but then you got to become a chiropractor. You got to make it work, So my why was always centered around my family. I went through with my wife. Of course, I have a great relationship with my siblings, J.R. and Jaclyn and Tracy and Rick and even my other sister that no one knows up in New York. But and so that was just an added benefit of, I felt like that's how God wanted me to go. And, and sometimes you got to go through the hard times before you get to the good times. And now I'm 47. We've been in this for a couple decades. And I see other people that have gone their own route and didn't listen to what I thought maybe they weren't listening to their calling. And, just it's a very rich experience to be in chiropractic and to help patients. And also with the magazine to be able to express my creative side, which I have a need to do. So, but I wouldn't have it any other way, working with you two and even all those chiropractors that I meet around the United States. I'm happy to carry that message forward. So, we're always available. That's my why. But it's getting kind of long here, so I got to wrap up our 50th episode of TAC Tic Talk. If you're listening out there, be sure to give us a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify. Send us a message to editorial@amchiropractor.com. If you want to write an article in the future, if you want to talk to us, send it my way, joe@amchiropractor.com. Thank you for all you do, Jaclyn, J.R. Keep up the great work, and we're here for you.
Thanks, Dr. Joe, for having us. And we always call you Dr. Joe Cool, actually. So thank you, Joe, for being cool.
But you can just call me Cool if you're out there, or Joe. Or just
Joe
call
Cool.
me. But as my dad said, don't call me late for dinner. I'm still trying to figure out what that meant. Like, he's never late for dinner, or don't call me late. Don't call me when it's
on time. He doesn't want to be hungry.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you again.
Hey, thank you.
Cut.